you can tell his reading of the game. Like, as soon as he sees the damage on that Dragoon, he's like, okay, there's a bit of an opportunity here. This guy's made a slight mistake, and I can capitalize on it. And then he takes that and just creates a massive gap where he's able to take down the next. And then that's such a hard game for Adele at that point.
And that's something you see from like extremely strong players, where they do not let an advantage disappear. If they're presented with a free advantage in one form or another, they will exploit it and turn it into a bigger advantage and a bigger advantage and a bigger advantage until they eventually convert that into a win. And Adele performed admirably against those pushes, but feels like Jay Leo just read the game slightly better, and that was enough of an advantage to just take it.
Yeah, really impressive.
Alright, let's get into our next series. This is going to be ZenoAkoop versus Tempest. And as usual, we're starting on Gladiator. In the bottom left, it is Tempest in white. Oh, whoa, what is going on with this drone? A little bit of an unfortunate start for Tempest, maybe a little bit nervous. And in the top right,
bottom left position. Okay, bottom left we've got Tempest.
Top
and then
right
in the bottom
is ZenoAkoop in cyan again, I guess.
And so now we've moved on from our TVPs, where Gladiator, it creates some interesting games in that matchup. What are your thoughts on it for TVZ?
So, I actually have not played very many games on this map compared to the other map we've seen today, which is Sylphid. And the reason is because I never played a match in CPL where oh my gosh, Tempest is going crazy with his drones, man. Something happened. He sent them all to one patch again. Maybe a little bit of nerves coming in, but I never played a match in CPL where this was not the third game. So I played a couple where Gladiator was game 3, or maybe only one, but it didn't go to game 3, so I never played on it in CPL. And ever since the last patch where this map was added, if I try to, if I match on that map, it gives me an error about like the map being improperly sized.
I've seen that. It's never happened, but I've seen it.
Yeah, and then it gives
says,
me an
like,
error.
Things are placed improperly, or error.
And then it gives me a loss, and I've seen other people having the same problem as well. So honestly, I haven't played on this map very much.
Right?
Just to avoid the free loss. But I can give you some comparisons to Jade as far as the architecture goes. Honestly, the whole reverse ramping does not really make too much of a difference.
Here,
Reserve, obviously you will almost never take still base. But as far as taking
so
another
easy for
main,
Terran Bio to
push. It's just like, it's
you can't
so
defend
crazy.
It. Yeah.
And oh wow, Tempest is actually going to go for 2-hatch. And Zeno's going for a wall, which I think is really popular in this position. I don't know if it's like a fully tight wall, but I don't see many players do it, to be honest. But I'm pretty sure if he's making this wall, then it's got to be at least a little bit better than building this stuff in your main. But you know, 2-hatch, I don't really see this as a 2-hatch map. Like Sylphid is definitely a really good 2-hatch map. But one nice thing about it is that these mains are really huge. If you notice that like on a map like Fighting Spirit, minerals, say in ZenoAkoop, would be tucked. You can only really attack the mineral line from 2 directions, from below and from the left-hand side. Whereas on Gladiator, if you're using Mutalisks, you can attack from the top, you can attack from the left, you can attack from the bottom. You can't attack from behind. It's not quite Holy World good in terms of like 2-hatch. But it's much better because Terran has to devote a lot more turrets to defend their position. They have to put a lot more thought into their building placement. And you can make a lot of stuff happen with not that many units as Zerg. And then generally, if you open 2-hatch, you would transition into a macro style play with you know, taking the other main and getting up lurkers, doing that kind of thing, and play it like a normal game. The only difference being your main is a little bit less defensible because it's a reverse ramp. So you're sitting on the bottom, they can get hit by tanks pretty easily. But besides that, you pretty much want to play it more in a standard way with a little bit of emphasis on, I guess you could say emphasis on map control. And actually, we see Zeno going for... Yeah, this is definitely not standard. But I can see why this is a really appealing mech map for Terrans, because you have these pizza slice high grounds that are really easy to move onto and off of. You know, on a lot of maps, the high grounds are kind of, you know, it's a ramp to a high ground, whereas this, it's sort of just like, it saves the terrain from low ground to high ground, so you can move the mech army up and down so easily. That advantage from high ground, besides their workers being slightly better and Hydras, but you know, yeah.
All ranged units, you're getting the advantage if you're fighting high ground to low ground, so that's Terran.
Right, yeah,
so,
Zerg's gonna make a lot of ranged units, right? Like, no,
I mean, with the armory coming out, though, I think this might be heading into Goliath.
Yeah, now normally on this map, I used to play against DST Napoleon a lot. Also, he's now Urk Royal Blue. But Royal Blue, he would do 14 CC into Goliath, and I'll tell you, if there is one build from Terran that is nearly impossible to stop, it is 14 CC Goliath, man, because they hit a +1 timing that is so sharp, and they have so much economy behind it. Like, the only thing you can do is punish it early. It's one of those things where, oh, how do you...
If they survive,
Yeah, it's like, how do you counter 14 CC Goliath?
It's before it's killed them before they get a bunch of Goliaths, pretty much.
This is actually an interesting idea from Tempest. He's going for 2-hatch Mutalisk, but he's adding a 4th hatchery in his natural, and he's going for the 3rd base. So what this tells me is that this is going to be transitioning into a standard macro play. If you were going to go for something like a Hydra Guardian or just straight up Guardian Devourer Ling, you would be getting +1 Carapace at this point. If you were going to go Mass Mutalisk, you'd be getting +1 attack at this point. And you would also probably want to take a base that's close to the Terran, which sounds a little weird.
But it's for rallying of the mutas.
Yeah, and also it puts your Mutalisks close to the position that Terran is most likely to attack. So Terran has a very short distance to go to attack their base, but your Mutalisks also a very short distance to bounce back.
To attack and both defend that base.
Right. So, interesting, Tempest going for a little bit of a non-standard build, going to the Hydralisk Den, and no Queen's Nest yet. So, the Mutas are going to have to poke in, and normally you wouldn't want to be moving in with this many Mutalisks. 7 Mutalisks is enough to kill an SCV in one hit. But it takes 3 hits to kill. Okay, so we do have Goliath
range just finished.
Okay, so it's definitely a Goliath.
That's an extremely long upgrade. So, you're pretty weak until it hits.
Yeah, it's the longest upgrade. Like, that's not a plus armor plus weapon, right? And so, you know, guys, this is what Tier 2 looks like. Tempest is at 300 APM, doing 2-hatch Mutalisk, taking a 3rd base against Terran. You know, it's pretty rough out in the streets. Oh, it's the reason why 2-hatch is really, really hard to level. Like, I think that 2-hatch is much harder to execute for Zerg than it is for defense at this level. But at higher levels, obviously, when you've got 400 APM and perfect awareness and perfect unit control, 2-hatch is very hard for Terran to deal with. But when you're dealing with Tier 2 players where, yeah, their micro might be good, but they're losing their macro as a result, you have to deal with...
I think it sort of has a weird curve. I think at an extremely low level, 2-hatch Muta is probably harder for Terran to deal with.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Because if a guy just knows how to control the mutas and it's at an extremely low level, the other guy probably doesn't macro enough to stop the muta micro.
Yeah, and this is really interesting right now what I see Tempest doing, because, okay, first of all, he's got 2 drones that are glitched out in his gas, just living the Zerg life. I don't know what's even happening here, that's pretty weird. But you also see the weakness of the wall for Terran is
Oh god.
it creates a target for the Mutalisks to attack. But now this is going to be moving out with a +1 Goliath attack. How close is +1 to finishing? If I can find the armory.
There's so few mutas here. I mean, it's transitioned into
Yeah.
Hydras, but like a tank in there, a tank in the mix,
Yeah.
and then continual rally off of four factories. This could be pretty hard to deal with. So we're gonna see.
Normally you see 2 or 3 tanks, but I'm wondering what Tempest's game plan is because he's getting Burrow, but Tempest has not transitioned into a Queen's Nest or like Mass Muta or anything like that. So it's just pure Hydra.
So actually,
Muta.
like the nice thing about the mutas here is not even the damage they deal; it's that they take more Goliath hits to kill.
Yeah.
So actually, this army gets wiped.
Yeah. So that was really nice control by Tempest. Sticking on low tech for longer than maybe Zeno expected. Now, you know, the normal way you would counter a push like that would be a couple Queens and Broodling, or you would just do what Tempest is doing, Hydra Mutalisks. If it's for Goliath, I think the best thing to do is just go straight Mutalisk, but instead opting to hold on to these Mutalisks. And this is the dangerous push.
Yeah, tanks are the thing that stopped you here, but I think he's losing a little too much.
Yeah.
I mean, Queens are extremely strong, but they take so much time, right?
Yeah,
and
they
it's
take
heavily
a lot of
gas
time.
intensive.
They're quite. You know, the units are very cheap, but the Broodling upgrade is not cheap. It's like 150. So the Broodling upgrade takes time. The Queens take time to make, although they are quite cheap. And when the deal with Queens is you got to wait for them to gather energy, and then once you use them, you can't use them again for 2.5 minutes.
And then if you only use them once, that's worth it if you do the tank.
Right.
But it's really nice if you're able to save your Queens, because then you're just getting cost efficiency over time.
Right. You buy them once, and then they keep redeeming. They keep getting value as the game goes on, as long as you're using them. You know,
but
every time
technically, I'm pretty sure cost-wise, they are worth their value if they kill a single tank.
Yeah, they are, because you know, if you think about, you know, you make a Queen is only 100. So they're cost-wise, they are worth it. Even if they fly in and they die, if they Broodling a tank, that's great. I think another weird thing is if they die while the Broodling projectile is still in the air, the tank doesn't die. So there's like little things that you have to take into account, but also it's very APM intensive to use Queens for the engagement, because you want to be sending in like 4 groups of Hydras, and then you gotta clone off all of the Queens, yeah. So Zeno is actually going for a 3rd base right now, building it on site at the 3rd, and there's Mutas flying up that way.
I think a 4th base is going to be taken by Tempe soon. Up in the top left.
Yep. So still seeing Goliaths come out. I'm really impressed by the way that Tempest is handling that, because although he lost a number of Mutalisks in the harassment, he didn't ever overcommit. It was just, you know, normal errors that come about as a result of
the Mutas.
Game. Yeah,
this taking a lot of pot shots.
Goliath ball. And you know what? This army's actually fairly mobile, because you only have a small number of tanks, and Goliaths stand their ground. They have great range against the Mutas, less range against the ground. This is getting a little worrying, because he didn't actually kill that much. He distributed a lot of damage to the different Goliaths, but he didn't actually kill that many.
Yeah, and if you're not killing them, then they're still doing damage, and it kind of snowballs.
And this is the worrying thing, is that the Tempest is still on lair tech, so focusing on
and he's still mass-producing Hydras.
Right.
So it's like this works to a point, but if you reach a certain point, and if you reach certain upgrades as the Terran, you're just gonna trade too efficiently.
Right.
It's sort of like versus Protoss.
Yeah, there's nothing more efficient than the Terran mech army, and while the Zerg army has the advantage of size because of its, you know, its supply efficiency, you need to be allowed to build up. And so Tempest is going with a low-tech, high-economy style drone. Get a lot of drones up, and then later, while shrinking with this Hydra Muta style, But, you know, another worrying thing is that this army is just continuing to grow for Zeno. Like, Tempest is trading units into this army, but Zeno is losing a lot less than Tempest is losing. Now, Tempest's upgrades are still good. Like, we still have +2 attack, no Carapace, and I don't think there's an upgrade going right now because there's no Hive, so unless you wanted to get Carapace, which Carapace does not really do anything versus mech. Like, it's a little bit of help versus Goliath.
Queen's Nest is on the way, about 25% done for Tempest and his base. Doing a little harass with the mutas, but we have 1-1 on the mech. I think he's going up. Okay, yeah, now he's going with an additional mech upgrade. He might build an additional armory as well.
Okay.
But he has a pretty nice little infrastructure. I think he could use a bit more production.
Yeah,
but,
probably.
But look at oh, he's fighting uphill versus this.
Yeah, this is really risky. He needs to get on top of the army while it's sieging, and he actually does it pretty well. But
yeah, actually, he gets a little more.
Yeah, so able to wipe out about half of the tanks, but that one tank survives, and so do all the Goliaths. I think he was focus firing down the tanks there, which is probably a good move. But you know, this is a real issue. Is the last time they fought, Zeno was at 90 supply and Tempest was at around 80, and now Tempest is still at 80, but Zeno's at 120. So every fight, Zeno is pulling a little bit ahead. And now looking to get aggressive.
Zeno thinks he can he thinks he can push across, and to be honest, I think he sort of can, because the army from Tempe is literally what's coming out of his hatcheries at any given time. Right now, like it was just reproduced.
A couple Scourge flying in, but there's not an air unit to be seen.
Yeah.
Not a single.
And I really like the positioning he's had on his army, where he's always taking engages from above.
I mean, even in that last fight, his Goliaths were like perfectly positioned in a V formation, so that they were all on high ground. You know, whether on purpose or by accident, that's the best position they could have possibly been in for this fight. And again, now Tempest at 70 supply, while Zeno's still at 120 plus. Every fight, Tempest is falling behind by about 10 supply.
I think this is so. This will work out because he just has so much more.
Yeah.
But I think he should like reinforce. Okay, he's reinforcing a bit more, and then he's sending in a couple harassing vultures to the top left.
Yeah.
And that, I'm pretty sure that's what leads to the
That
GG.
closes the game, yeah, because that was hope was that economy. So interesting game. I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to comment too much about it because I can't beat that style. So I'm not sure what the right move is. You know, just quick observations. He did stay on the same tech for a very long time, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you can still make that low tech, high econ style, you know, Sauron style work. But off of 2 hatch, you're already at a little bit of a disadvantage to do that, and also that map is not fantastic for dealing with mech, just because we saw every single fight, Zeno was able to take advantage of the high ground to get an advantageous position, and Zeno also came out ahead every single fight, even though Tempest was not too far behind on upgrades. Tempest had +2 before Zeno had +2, but unfortunately that's just not enough to beat a mech army, because mech is innately more efficient. So going into
because you're like augmenting like when you're Hydra versus Goliath, the Hydra is cheaper and you can build more of them, so it's a better fight for mass Hydras. But when you augment them with the tanks, it's like Hydra versus Hydra, where one guy has lurkers or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you need something else. So a lot of times he had the mutas, and the mutas are nice because they do take a lot of hits, even if they're not doing the most damage. So a lot of times when he had his better fights, I felt like it was because mutas took a bunch of Goliath hits, and Hydras were able to do a bit more. But late in the game, when it's like mass Hydra versus tank Goliath, you're just gonna have such a hard time.
Yeah, it's almost like Terran has acquired their ideal composition, and Zerg is still at an interim composition where they're just kind of trying to stay alive and get anything done that they possibly can. But anyway,
yeah,
we've
it's
got
like it's like a stopgap.
yeah, precisely.
Composition.
Like it,
Where it's like
and
you don't want to get stuck on it, but you have to go into it to survive.
yeah, and he stayed in that stopgap position for like a very long time. I think it was like 15 minutes before he even
To
started
be
a queen's
fair though,
nest.
if he gets 1 or 2 good engages there in that
Yeah.
time where he has the mass Hydra army, he can win the game. It's
Yeah.
just that over time, it feels like the Hydras don't improve value-wise, where the mech army does increase in value, especially with upgrades.
Yeah, and also, you know, Zerg versus Terran in general, unlike something like Zerg versus Protoss, you have a lot of fights where the fights are completely one-sided, and that's because Zerg units don't have a lot of DPS, but they have a lot of units. And Terran also has a lot of units, but they have extremely high DPS that is dependent on a certain number of conditions, like whether or not they're surrounded, whether or not they're under Dark Swarm, whether or not there's lurkers in the
like
fight.
Glass cannon.
Yeah, like composition based. So you see either Terran wins the fight massively, or Zerg wins the fight massively. And, you know, unfortunately, most of the time it ends up being Zerg that is on the losing end, because Zerg only needs to lose one fight where they lose their whole army for the game over. Whereas Terran usually needs to lose 2 or 3 because of the nature of production. You know, Zerg has to make everything out of larva, and if they're making larva, they can't also be building economy and doing other things. But we see.
And so what we were saying before is we've got Tempe in the 12 o'clock position of Sylphid, and then in the bottom left position we've got Zeno, winner of game 1 with some nice mech play.
And doing this,
but
this
it looks like he's going
wall.
straight into a gasless Rax into a CC.
Yeah, with a little bit of a wall. That's pretty interesting. Like normally he's reserving his right to defend against a 9 pool, basically, is what he's doing by putting his buildings in this position. Fight her a little SimCity later, but Tempest is again going to go for 2 hatcheries, saying, okay, you know, maybe I messed up a little bit last game. I'm gonna correct it this time. I'm just gonna do the same build, but I'm gonna improve upon it and try to prove the merits of 2-hatch, especially because, you know, on this map in particular, I really like burrowed Zergling all-ins. Like, we saw Effort do one against Last in ASL, and it's the perfect to do so because there's no ramp, and it's a 3-player map, so you're able to determine your opponent's position very quickly. With the prevalence of gas first builds, Terran,
lacks detection.
They lack detection, and they open themselves up to all-ins for a much longer window than when they open bios. So a lot of times what you'll see Zergs do is they'll go hatch, gas, pool, and they'll make them really fast, like 12 hatch.
We do have just 2 racks of CAD coming out of Zeno, though.
So this
much
is
more.
Not, if you had gone burrowing versus this, you'd be pretty sad. But playing the odds, you might be able to make an advantage. Now there's 4 Zerglings
with the current meta, like the current builds, have a lot of things where you're lacking detection for a good chunk of the game.
And you know the nice thing about burrowing is that it transitions really well to Hydralisk all in, because you can burrow the Hydras as well. So you have a lot of flexibility. Unfortunately, Hydras don't really work because the counter to Hydras is SCVs. And usually Terran has a lot of them if you're all-inning them, so they just have to, like, box all their SCVs and, like, 1A, and
see the
they'll kill all the
about
Hydras.
to pop.
Oh, the Tempest is going to defend this easily. There's no way there's enough Terran.
Well, yeah, especially with all the additional Zerglings coming
this
out.
is 10 Zerglings, so this is actually a style that I've seen... I think it was Soxry. Soxry was playing in KCM, and, like, it was a 4 Zergs versus 4 Terrans tournament, and Soxry killed 3 of the Terrans using a build very similar to this. He went Hatch Gas Pool, which is a little bit more trendy in Korea because Korean Terrans were like gas builds, but you basically make a big swell of Zerglings right before you fire, and you go
wipe the Marines, wipe Marines, and then your mutas can just destroy.
It's like
I've seen something. Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's not going to work because this is 2 racks and there's 4 Marines in the bunker, a 3rd barracks on the way. It's a very like traditional style of playing of playing Terran. Just the 2 racks with upgrades into 3 racks. And now he's got an engineering bay, but no +1 starting Marine range now, so Zeno is going for a very, very orthodox style of play. Tempest has a lot of lings, but... Ooh, this is
mutas
kind
are
of
on the
weird.
way.
The mutas are, like, all spread out, actually. Like, I think he had 2 different rally points, maybe? But the mutas are here before the turrets are in place, and...
But we do have the Marines sitting right here, so...
Yeah.
And we've got a ton of turrets coming up.
This is also
is he
very...
Use an Overlord to that? No, almost.
It just... It could have, but just not to, so... Really hard map for 2-hatch Muta, in my opinion, because, like, if you... particularly these positions, because if you look at the Terran Natural, there's dead space behind it, but it's not high ground, which means the Mutalisks don't just disappear as soon as you move out of range. So the Terran can track your Mutalisks and actually keep shooting them for quite a while if they have Marine
once they've got
range
Marine range, it becomes difficult.
And also, if they do go for a 1-1-1, I mean, 1 Irradiate can just absolutely destroy you.
Yeah, it feels like if you're Zerg, you want Terran either in the top or the bottom right, and then the natural you can harass for days against that.
So, just a little bit of a fortunate start, but wait a sec. I saw. Oh my God, Tempest is. I think he tried to do a flying drone glitch, maybe because his drone is in the ground, or maybe he just tried to make a building and he canceled it at the right time so that the drone gets embedded in the ground. But either way, he's going to get a 3rd base. I don't think he did a flying drone glitch because that's against the rules, but if we're using iCup rules, that glitch is banned. But either way, Tempest could do to reinforce with this other Mutalisk that he's got there, but keeping Terran locked inside of his base for the meantime. And
yeah, doing a little take out 1 depot.
Yeah, little bit.
Yeah, he hasn't committed extremely hard to mutas. Actually, he's continuing production, so.
This is
but
more
immediately going up to Hive.
Yeah, this is more like a standard map pro 2-hatch that you would see, where you don't skip lurkers, you still decide to invest a little bit. And losing a lot of,
lost like 3 mutas there.
Part is like your whole game plan is designed around, you know, making the Terran think at any moment I could run in and kill all your SCVs, so you need to be careful, you need to stay home, you need to be vigilant.
So Zeno scans that 3rd coming up.
Oh wow, that is extremely fortunate. This is the most likely 3rd base because it is high ground, so it is easily defensible, but still there's a lot of bases on the map that you could have scanned. He could have tried to go into another base.
He scanned bottom right slightly off, and then scanned the mid right.
Okay.
So those were his 2 scans.
So the main issue
I don't think he scanned the main in a while, where he would see a greater spire is coming up.
Yeah. So this is a little bit worrying though. For he's gonna try and do the Mutiling engage in the middle of the map, but it was a little bit clumsy. Those medics are in awesome position. Like.
Oh, now we got Hydras running in.
Yeah, those Hydras were probably destined for the 3rd base, but look at that. Slow Hydras can just get run down.
Oh no,
he's gonna lose a Mutalist too. I think Tempest is just losing control here. This is a really bad situation because if you're going Raider Spire, you really want to be ahead at this point, and you want Terran to still be on 2 base. You don't want him to be on the. You want to have kept most of your Mutalists alive, which is
Greater Spire seems really good for like particularly like hard pinning Terrans in their base.
Yeah, a lot of times
like denying naturals.
Yeah,
they can be used defensively. Like, I could have seen if he was in a slightly better position, he could have had Guardians on the high ground of this 3rd base.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty hard.
The issue is that, like, you know, the Guardians are so slow that once you defend your base, if you say, alright, time for the Guardian counterattack, I'll see you in like 2 minutes, the Terran can just tech up to Wraith and they'll be in complete control of the game. So, unfortunately, I was going to say how this base it's hard to get a 4th base if you take this base, but apparently it's hard to get a 3rd base. I feel for this, for the Zerg here in this position. And also, I mean, look at this natural. This natural is very poor because he had to build those extra Sunkens just to stay alive. And on top of that, he made those extra lings early to, like, attempt that counterattack, only to see that it was not going to be a possibility. And so that meant less drones mining for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and we've already got that 3rd base coming up.
Yeah, Hydra Guardian coming in.
Yeah, Hydra Guardian. I mean, this can work if you've got the macro behind it, but it isn't enough units.
Yeah, you need about twice as many units for this to work. And GG, yeah, he knows because that was the last of his army that went down. So GG.
So I liked it. I like the idea. I like the idea, but behind the Guardians.
Yeah.
I just feel like it hit an unfortunate build, or he like hit an unfortunate build early on with his build. And then it felt like there were a couple things that went Xeno's way with some really good defensive play.
Yeah.